Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about science, and we're going to talk about how this specific thing we're going to talk about how it expands your mind and how it shifts you into the spiritual. So, one of the main things that I became aware of and realized many years ago, I'm talking 30 years ago or more, is the thing that's going on with human beings is we are limited. And it's very possible this is part of the game. In other words, it's like our powers were taken away and we came down here to, how do I explain this? To go from being limited to becoming unlimited. So when I went through this huge spiritual awakening, I was meditating every day for hours, etc. So I had some really interesting experiences, and things would just come to me, stand out. People would say things at the right moment, at the right time. And I'm going to give you one book that did that. So this was years and years after that. Well, maybe about 3 or 4 years. And I always thought, I think it's time for me to start focusing on my finances and, get back into that. So I went to San Francisco, went to Union Square, and I went to Borders Bookstore, which was a place that I spent a lot of time at. Okay. And I thought, I'm just going to go to the financial section, the wealth or money section, whatever it was called back then. And I was just going to start looking for books and try to find something that might be along the lines of where I'm at. So there's a reason I'm bringing this up, and it'll kind of explain itself in a second. So I'm just kind of walking through it, and there was this book that kind of glowed. It was like the colors just popped. It stood out more. And I thought, okay, here we go again. I reached up and grabbed it, and it said Busting Loose from the Money Game. And it had money on it and people like kind of celebrating an image of that. And I thought, yeah, okay, I'm going to grab this book. And it's by Robert Scheinfeld, Scheinfeld. Okay, so one of the things I've deduced from doing all this NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, meditation, all the stuff I've done, going to Tony Robbins seminars, going to Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminars, just learning and learning, is a lot of people are very, very limited. Not because there's any limitation at all, but simply because they just don't. I was riding my bike the other day in Mill Valley, going downhill, kind of fast, probably 35 miles an hour, I guess, something like that, maybe 30. And this thought came to me on how recently I've just been learning, like, one of my greatest fears for my entire lifetime until about 4 years ago was working on cars. I just wouldn't do it. It looked too complicated. It scared me. Because all you hear is, they're complicated for the mechanics and how hard it is. And so we just replaced an axle about, I think 3-4 days ago. And I was kind of giggling to myself, like, that wasn't hard at all. It literally took us about 1 hour and 15 minutes. And 4 years ago, I would have never even considered even sitting there watching someone do it. That's how terrified I was of working on cars. It's like, no, I just drop it off. I was like, I don't want to watch. It just scares the crap out of me. So here I am banging on my freaking I don't have all the names and words, but lower axle or lower whatever, banging on it because you got to get this pin to get loose, and then there's another one we had to bang on to get loose too, etc. And we're bang, 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 and I'm, he goes, hit it right here. I'm like, okay, and I'm going through the motions, and after we did it, I thought there was just a few 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 things that you had to do, and then you just had to put it all back together. It was not, NOT, it was not complicated at all. So over the last 4 years, I've replaced a starter, I've done a valve cover, gasket, spark plug, I guess you call them gaskets, I've done all kinds of things to that car. I just figured out the speed sensor was broken, what was wrong with it. I had to figure out how to put the bottom gear to the speed sensor on and all this stuff. And he's like, as the more I do, it's like, this is really not that complicated. Now, I'm not saying the newer cars aren't complicated, but what I'm trying to say is 4 years ago, I wouldn't have even thought of doing any of these things. Changing my spark plug, I'm cleaning my MAP sensor, I'm cleaning my throttle body, things that I've never even heard of before. I flushed my radiator, blah, 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 on and on. So here's my point. I'm riding my bike down this hill, and I'm like, there's so many people that are limited. What that means is they won't even take the steps. They won't watch a YouTube video. They won't do anything. Now, I'm not knocking them. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying bad people, bad person. That's not what I mean. Because I've experienced it in my life too. In fact, as I'm riding my bike down that hill, I'm like, this is just the way life is. It's like, God, I remember when I went to my first Tony Robbins seminar, how unlimited you feel when you walk out. You start reading books on business. You start reading books on finance. You start going to business meetings. You start, just like, I just jumped right into doing seminars. Just workshops, trainings at real estate agents, Hewlett Packard. I started working with CEOs, managers, etc. at Hewlett Packard doing coaching, and I was a young guy. I was probably 24, 25 years old, maybe 26 years old when I was doing all this stuff. I was a young guy. And I guess what I'm saying is, a lot of people have no idea what's literally at their fingertips. And it dawned on me what I'm doing. And I thought, this is kind of a really good maybe sentence or phrase or even maybe metaphor for what my business is all about. And that's helping people to become more and more and more unlimited. And that's what these videos are all about. It's freeing you from the lies, from the limitations, from the limiting beliefs that people have put into you, have taught you, said this is what's real, the rules, the fake rules that they just made up because, your brother, their sister, their neighbor, their friend. People put so much limitations on the people around them, especially narcissists. If you've lived with a narcissist, if you've dealt with a narcissist, they limit you. They just start making up all these fake rules and all this fake beliefs, and this means that, and when it doesn't mean that at all. And all of a sudden, it's like you're trapped and stuck in a box. We are shifting from a world of limitations into a world of being unlimited, of no limitations, of just expanding and expanding and expanding. We are fully and completely going into our creative abilities. And that's what I've been doing with all these videos, is busting through your limitations with a lot of truths. So today's video is going to be about electrons. Yes, physics, science, electrons, or one electron. Now before that, let me share this book with you. So Busting Loose from the Money Game by Robert Scheinfeld. In the book he said, look, we have all these powers and abilities that we essentially, how do you say, he goes, we used to be like Superman. We could spin around the earth. We could spin so fast we could slow Earth down, okay? We could leap tall buildings. We could like do magical things. We could just snap our fingers and Burger King would be right there, instantaneous. He goes, it's kind of like the microwave. It's like we're getting back to that. You pull up to a McDonald's or Burger King, you order your food, and you pull around the corner to the next window, and bam, within 30 seconds, sometimes literally a minute, your food is there. It's getting faster and faster and faster again. So in this book, Busting Loose from the Money Game, Robert is saying essentially we were so powerful that we had anything instantly. We healed instantly. We thought about money, we got it. We wanted food, we had it. It was literally instantaneous. We had so much power that it was instantaneous. And then he said, what happened was, it's like a game that we played. We said, hey, let's do this. Let's create this universe. Let's create this space, alpha, omega, time, space, 3-dimension. And let's take away 97 or 99% of all of our power. And the goal of the game, it's kind of like an Easter egg hunt, okay? He goes, the goal of the game is to kind of look around for the hidden plastic Easter eggs, and when you open them up, there might be candy in there, or $5, or whatever your mom put in there. But instead of it being candy or money, it's your energy that you used to have before. So you get one little bit of energy right back into you, and then you get a little one here, and then maybe a month later you find another one. He goes, it's this game of reclaiming your own energy. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this. First time I heard it was from Tony Robbins, but not the only person. But what the saying goes, it didn't happen to you, it happened for you. So these are all challenges to get more and more and more of your power back. So we're all at different levels. We've all attained certain amounts of our powers or not. So you can't compare yourself. This is where you'll really screw yourself up. And this is essentially what narcissists do. They'll look at this really powerful person and go, oh, that's not fair. And then they cut that person down or destroy them or hurt them. Well, essentially what I believe in the game is you're only taking away your own power when you do that. And now you just lowered yourself. It's almost like you're restarting all over again. Oh, and by the way, I want to let you guys know, if you don't know, I absolutely do coaching on all of the stuff that I've talked about, from energy healing to phobia cures to fear into power, all the stuff Tony Robbins does and a lot more, something called timeline therapy, Ericksonian hypnosis, neuro-linguistic programming. So coaching for any issue that you have is available, especially breaking through limitations and fear. So, if you have had a huge challenge thrown at you, such as narcissist abuse, that is a place or a space to gain massive amounts of power versus getting a little bit of power. See, when people are at lower levels, you can't handle too much power. You can only handle little bits at a time. And then as you grow and you build your foundation, you can gain more of your power. So if you're at a level where you really dealt with narcissist abuse, especially on that extreme level, you are gaining massive amounts of power. Especially if you went into isolation, that's what that's all about. You are gaining your power back. So in Robert Scheinfeld's book, Busting Loose Through the Money Game, he gives you these techniques and these skills, that things that you can do when something bad happens, or oh my god, I got a flat tire, I'm on the freeway, what am I going to do, or whatever. And you do these little verbal techniques and something happens. And as usual, I was just like, oh, it's nothing's going to happen, because my car actually broke down on the side of the highway. And the funny thing was, my starter went out, but way back then I didn't know what was wrong. I just thought, oh my god, please help me. And then I did this technique, which I actually can't remember the technique right now. I got to reread it in the book. But I did these techniques for years, and sure enough, something would happen. It wasn't that bad, and boom, next thing you know, my how to explain this? This person that was friends with my father, he fixed it. It wasn't a big deal, and it ended up working out. Now, I highly recommend that you buy that book. Now, whether you believe it or not is actually not the point. The point is to open your mind, to expand your horizons, to expand your, yes, it's an awareness, but expand your ability to try new things, to learn new things. Because as I was riding my bike down the hill, that's what it was. It's like I was just willing to learn things that I never heard of before, to learn things that maybe didn't even make sense. To find out for myself. If I wasn't willing to read books, go to webinars, go to seminars, go to different coaches, hire coaches, etc., I never would have learned the things I'm learning. If I wasn't willing to watch YouTube videos, ask mechanics, I go to frickin' O'Reilly's all the time. There's a manager there that knows a lot. I for a while there, I was going in every single day just asking random questions about what about this, what about that. And the guy is a great teacher, and he wants to teach. So now all of a sudden, working on cars, learning new things to change and to fix on my car, it's not a big deal. It suddenly became a fascination. Alright, here's something that's kind of funny. I was an athlete my whole life, but the one thing is I was always a straight A student, or damn near straight A. I get a B once in a while, maybe a C once every 5 years or something like that. But going into the field of psychology and therapy was just not, my family didn't do it. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have an aunt or uncle or mom or dad who was a psychotherapist, etc., etc. And yet here's the really weird thing about it. I didn't even notice it until about 20 years after going down the path. I looked back and went, wow, because a friend of mine goes, wait a minute, what got Mr. Kickboxer, national champion, state champion boxer, etc., captain of the football team into this? We were actually going up an elevator. We just randomly bumped into each other well over a decade after we graduated. And I kind of looked down and went, huh. And it something in my head just zoomed all the way back through the memories. I'm like, yeah, that is kind of weird. I never thought about that. I'll tell you what it was. I was just fascinated with it. Never did it cross my mind that this was a scary endeavor or something. Because here I am dealing with people's real life issues that they've been going to psychiatrists and psychotherapists about for years and years. And they walk in my door. I was like, oh, that's easy. It's like walking into a mechanic. Oh, we can fix that. No problem. Never once did it even cross my mind that this was some kind of hard thing to do. It was extremely fascinating to me. So that's why I really believe it's important, because going back to the book of Genesis, look, the whole thing of the serpent in the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge, is not to get stuck in the tree of knowledge, to expand over into the right brain, to be open-minded. And if you do this, the interesting thing is you will find all the connections from science to physics to metaphysics to energy healing. You're just going to be like, wow, like everything connects. Alright, let's get to it. Every single electron, here's what Neil Tyson deGrasse had said. Every single electron is exactly the same. Now I found this link I'm going to put in the description towards the top. Maybe not the very top, maybe the second or third line down in the description box. He's having this discussion with 3 other scientists. I think they're all scientists. I believe they are. I know for sure 2 of them are. And here's the thing about it is, as I'm listening, I'm like, oh, we talked about this back in 1995 in Hawaii during that 5-week training. And I mean, we talked in depth about this one single subject. Now, here's one of the possibilities. So, as he's talking to these scientists, 2 of them, Neil deGrasse Tyson, sorry, I always say his name backwards, and this other scientist are saying, look, we actually believe there is only one electron in the entire universe. Let that sink in for a minute. So during this conversation these guys are having, I'm reflecting back to what they were teaching us way back when, and they're like, look, here's what's really going on. There is only one electron. That's it. So during this discussion these guys are having, these scientists, you could tell there's 3 of them, Neil Tyson and then these other 2 doctors that were like on board with this. They're like, yeah, and that's what Neil was saying. So was this other doctor. I didn't get his name. His name might be in the video. I'll put a link down there. And there was one guy that was like, you could just tell, like, this guy was not a believer, And that's okay. Okay. See, as you're listening to these guys discuss things, it's like at one point this guy immediately goes to negate it. He goes, no, we're not there yet. Let's talk about the possibilities first, and then we can go into the disproving phase. Because at the very end, the non-believer guy really brings up a really, really good point. Now, that is interesting. So I'm going to share what they taught us in class years ago. Like, God, it's been like 28 years ago or 30 years ago. But I want to share what these guys talked about first a little bit. So at one point during this conversation they were having, Neil Tyson was talking about black matter. Sorry, it's actually dark matter, but that's not quite the way I said that wrong. Hold on. So what I meant to say was antimatter, and he's talking about how, first he says every particle is exactly the same, or every electron. And then he talks about antimatter and how it's the complete opposite. So at the first he's saying every single particle is exactly the same, and they're trying to figure out, like, well, how is that possible? They're all exactly the same, almost like they're the same particle. And then he goes, and that's how we come to the deduction that is it possible that we're looking at the same particle everywhere? And then he goes to talk about antimatter. The particle of that is the opposite of a single electron, etc. Then he goes on to say that antimatter is actually ordinary matter going backwards in time. And then he goes on to say it actually solves a lot of the equations. So all of a sudden things make sense mathematically. Now here's another interesting thing that they talked about. I'm going to try to give a shortened version. I'm not sure if I can. I'm not even going to try to discuss what they discussed in the way they did. But they were talking about how, like, these electrons, or electron will go forward and then it will go backwards, and how they'll be on different timelines, or they didn't call them timelines, they call them different, but it's the same thing, timelines, and how when it's going backwards it becomes antimatter, and when it goes forward it's positive, a positron. So at one point they were talking about, how did Neil say it? Hold on. Okay, so they call them world lines. Okay, same thing as when in timeline therapy we call timelines. So they're talking about when they go backwards and forwards. It's this one same electron, and Neil deGrasse Tyson says, so when that is going backwards, becoming antimatter, is it just that we're recording it in that moment when it's going backwards, thinking that it's going forward in time? In other words, is this electron being called a positron, meaning positive energy, versus antimatter? In other words, are we viewing it as positive because in that moment in time, when we recorded it, it just happened to be moving forward in time and thus being positive, a positive electron? Versus when the same electron was going backwards in time, say an hour later, a year later, 6 years later, whatever, or 6 years before, it was going backwards, we called it antimatter. And was it only that viewed by us because it was going in that direction in that moment in time when we recorded it? Now, when I wrap this up with what we learned in Hawaii, trust me, this is going to be a treat that just might absolutely empower you for life. Alright, so let me give you this first. If you're feeling confused, that means you are about to learn something. Now, I actually learned that from Tony Robbins. I think there was 4 or 5 words like that. I don't remember all of them, but the other one is frustrated. When you're feeling frustrated, it means you are close. You are right on the edge of breaking through and getting this success or the discovery or making the money or whatever. See, because frustration means you're extremely excited. You are so close. See, the closer you get to your goal, the more excited you get, the more frustrating it gets. It means you're super close. So don't give up. It means keep pushing through. You're about to get it. And confusion means you are about to learn something. So this other scientist he's talking to, and he says, look, the electron is always going through time forwards and backwards. In other words, it's always going towards the future and then going back towards the past. It's constantly going front to back, or future to past. So one of the theories that they're talking about is it's the same electron. When it's going backwards into the past, it becomes, it's called antimatter, so let's call it negative. When it goes to the future, it becomes a positron, meaning positive. Now, this actually solves something we learned, I think it was the 6th, 7th, or 8th grade sciences. I remember our teacher, he had this big electric coil, and I also saw it on television too, and I saw it on YouTube many, many years later. But they had this electrical, I don't know if it was copper wire or whatever, kind of just spiral all the way, and it was like all the way around the room or halfway around the room. And our teacher actually put this in our room, and he goes, the minute you touch this side with electric volt or whatever they called it, the other side instantly gets it. So we brought the voltmeters or whatever it's called together, and the minute we sent an electrical charge, it hit the other one instantly. There wasn't even a delay. So what scientists were saying is there has to be some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like if there's an electron here, the equal and opposite electron at the exact, like even a universal way, instantly has the electrical pulse. Like it does. There's no delay like a year or 6 months or 6 seconds or 16th of a 32nd of a second or a 100th of. There's no delay. It's instantly, and they're trying to say there's got to be some kind of connection that we're not aware of, because they don't know why it works that way. Well, if there's only one electron in the universe, that would actually make sense, because you're shocking the one electron. So regardless of where you experience it, it's always the same electron. So we have different dimensions. Now I'm going to talk about two of the dimensions that we talk about all the time. Space and time. Alright, so think of this. So let's say you walk into the middle of an intersection at midnight when there's no traffic, there's no cars, okay? So at that time, in that space, there's no cars going through the intersection, so you're fine. But what if you go to that same intersection at a different time, say 5 o'clock rush hour? You're going to have a different experience. In fact, you're probably going to get hit by a car or an electron or antimatter, which is an electron. Another thing Neil said about these electrons, he said, antimatter, that particle, is the complete opposite, or has the complete opposite properties of an electron or positron. And that too is very much puzzled scientists. Like, it's literally the exact opposite. Like a mirror. Sound familiar? Have you ever experienced antimatter in your life? Like it almost sucked the life force out of you? Is this what a narcissist is? They have the same exact opposite properties that you have. Isn't that what it felt like, though? Isn't that what the experience seemed like? And isn't that what shadow work is all about, is regaining your power from the other side? These are just possibilities. I'm not saying that this is true at all. In fact, I'm not saying anything these scientists are saying is true at all. But watch this. So in Hawaii, we were talking about this. Now, it's kind of funny. I'm watching these scientists talk about this same subject that we talked about 30 plus years ago. And I'm just watching this like I'm watching a memory, like, oh, this is new. These guys are, it's like, how are they just figuring this out now? Because we were talking about actual electrons. So here's what we came to a possible conclusion. So one of the teachings is, at least in the spirit world, or however you want to say it, energy healing world, is there is one electron. It's like the tip of a pen or the tip of a paintbrush, and it is going so fast. We're talking gazillion, bazillion, quadrillion miles an hour. It is going so fast that it just painted the whole universe in that split snap. It painted every single universe, every known galaxy, every planet, every bird, every tree, everything that fast. I mean, it's done, and it's going right through it over and over and over. Every single time you make a micro muscle movement, it's going through all of that, through all of us, all at the same time. Every millisecond, every breath you take, every movement, every blink of your eye, it's going through you, and it's completely painting every single moment at every split second. Yeah, so the moment you reach for the spoon, it went through your arm. And 8 billion people's arms on the planet, and legs and brains and minds and thoughts, and the sun going up and down, and every molecule that moves. This one single particle is painting everything and drawing and writing everything all at the same time. So fast that you don't even know that it's there. So fast that your brain can't possibly imagine that is a possibility of what's really going on. If this is true, that antimatter and positive matter, positron, is the same exact molecule, whether it's going forward or backwards, you're just seeing it at a different space in time, literally. Now imagine this. There's literally just one electron. That's it. Now think about what the Bible says, what people talk about, oneness. Are we literally all one? Now think about this. If it's that one pen, that one tip of the pen, that one tip of the artist's paintbrush, is this how we create any reality that we want? Simply by imagining it? Is that manifestation? Is that prayers answered? And did you create that narcissist to come into your life to knock you on your ass? Completely, totally uplift your house, your foundation, everything that you believed and thought was true, and completely flip everything upside down for a much higher purpose. Because you were asleep. You were stuck in these beliefs that were not true. You were stuck in these rules that you were taught that were made up completely out of thin air. You were taught to live by certain rules, and you decided to live by these rules, by these decisions, without even knowing what it was that you were deciding and agreeing upon, because you were blind to it. And by doing this, you became absolutely and completely stuck. Did this happen to you, or did this happen for you? Did your entire foundation get completely blown away, your house flipped upside down and broken down into pieces, so you can build a new foundation, a stronger home based on true beliefs, based on a solid foundation of clarity, consciousness, and awareness. You gotta work hard. Money's the root of all evil. Good is bad. Right is wrong. Don't do that. Don't enjoy the gifts of life that God gave you. No, you're a sinner. You're going to hell. Maybe your foundation was imploded, exploded, destroyed because you were stuck. What if it is one particle? And now when you realize that you literally become the artist, the creator of your life by using your imagination and your words in a much more empowering and beautiful way. Maybe you can become rich. Maybe you can heal your legs and walk once again. Maybe you can release and let go of all those people that were yelling at you that sunk into your energy field, your body, your skin, and you can release it all and your muscles relax and you stand up and you begin to walk strong. What if you can start that business? What if you can actually learn how to work on your own car simply by asking questions consistently, watching, paying attention, and watching YouTube videos, and just taking a step, taking a chance, taking action? What if you can heal? What if you can throw away all those negative limiting beliefs and shift into more empowering beliefs? What if you can decide right now to do that? Did this happen to you? Or did it happen for you? Here's the interesting about those questions. You get to decide. And by doing so, you finally begin to realize you are the creator of your world. You get to set you free. God bless you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope this video clicks in your brain and something starts to happen in the next couple hours. Hey, this is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. If you like this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, make a comment, and remember, as always, you can always you can always make a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box. You can also donate by buying one of my books. The men's book is Crack the Female Code. You can buy the Ultimate Package for Men, or if you're a woman, I have 2 books for women, Why Men Just Don't Get It, and Every Woman's Battle, The Need for Love and Emotional Fulfillment. The purpose of this video is to expand your mind so you can become unlimited, so we can take you out of limitation and open you up into possibilities.